I love about painting this place is that there's an infinite variety of options. There's vineyards, there's orchards, there's river, there's mountains. It's never ending. My name is Nancy Houfek Brown, and I am a painter, an oil painter. I make large, abstracted landscapes using geometric forms and flat planes of color of sights and scenes in the Columbia River Gorge. I like to go out into the countryside and take photographs. And there's a right angle turn in the road. And they had just put these street signs up saying, directional street signs. I had to stop and take a photo of that because it was this moment of, that is one of the coolest things to see. Which Way is the name of the painting. Sometimes we go for a ride in the country. Wow! Yeah. Look at that. Fortunately, Al does the driving, so I'm looking at things going, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, taking photographs along the way. Wow. Rowena Crest has a viewpoint with an amazing panorama of the gorge and the geological formations. You could see the basalt cliffs. You could see how the gorge was made. It was like, I've got to make a painting of that. And then you go a little bit further. Beautiful time of day. And the wind comes up over that cliff constantly. And there are raptors dancing in the wind and playing. I took some photos. It's hard to capture a raptor, in motion. But I thought, I want to do that. And then you walk another 10 feet and you're looking at the balsam root just wildly blooming. Yes, hundreds of photographs, and then I want to paint my emotional response to it. And my emotional response to it isn't realistic. I don't want to copy nature. But when I come back in the studio, all these photos are on my iPhoto program. So I'm scrolling through them and looking at them and looking and deleting, delete. Ah, that's the one. That's the one. Then, with a pencil, I go as quickly as I can. How would I draw this if I were 4 years old? How would I do this? How would I make these trees? Well, they're not going to have lots of branches. They're just going to look like little things. Oh, that shadow is just a little block of stuff. At that point, I take the drawing and I photograph that. Then I can put it directly into Procreate. It saves me making 5, 6 oil sketches. I can try things out. It's too dark. So if I were painting it, it would be a problem. But now I can just find a lighter color. And when I feel like I've got a good sense of the color in the composition, I will print it out. I put the grid on it, and I can make the drawing square by square. So I have more accuracy to what I've already created. And then I draw the drawing on it. So it's still looking somewhat like my child's drawing. I begin to draw the grid on the canvas in a very, very pale yellow. So it's going to be easy to paint over. And I just use the grid, get the drawing on. And then I start painting. there's a moment where the painting starts to speak to me. It's morphing as I'm painting. And then there's a moment where I'm done with this painting. If I do any more, I'll wreck it. Both of my parents were artists. My mother had been an art major in college. She was a talented portrait drawer and painter. In my early mid-20s, I decided I wanted to go to acting school. And then I continued on my career, and I performed throughout the Western states as a stage actor. And that's actually how I met Al, my husband.
It was at a reading of one of my plays, and Nancy walked in, and I said, "Who is that?" And it really was. Love at first sight is real. I began to learn all the things that I really needed to learn about living once I met her.
And then I shifted out of being an actor to being an educator and got a job at the University of Minnesota in the theater department. I would take art classes. I would still make art and still draw sketches. So Al and I, when we were in Minnesota, we started windsurfing, and we learned and we got gear. And then one summer, this was 1996, everybody was saying, "Oh, you got to go to Hood River. It's the best." I was doing a gig in New York, and Al drove out to Hood River. And I get these calls saying, "It's the most beautiful place in the world. You've got to come."
When we finally got her out here, she was just almost speechless.
It was like nothing I'd ever seen before. I had all this experience on stage, also teaching at University of Minnesota and gotten quite the reputation as an educator. I was head of voice and speech at the American Repertory Theater at Harvard University. I was always drawing, always painting, always trying things. It was always a current in my life. So then, in 2002, we were both kind of depressed at the same time. You know how that happens with a couple when you're both depressed at the same time? It's not so good. And I thought, you know what? Let's buy a house in Hood River. Well, let's try it. Let's see how it works.
It gave me a feeling of, maybe it was like home. You know, finally, a real home. Not Boston, not a city, a small town where we could really be ourselves.
I just started every day painting, and it just kept getting better and better.
I went downtown Hood River to Columbia Center for the Arts, and I started saying, "You folks really need to see my wife's art." Then the gallery manager came up, and then she got into a show there, and you know, it's small things at first, and then kaboom.
All of a sudden, the painting emerged as this new voice that had distinct shadows, had distinct shapes, had a vocabulary. It has a red barn in it. A lot of my paintings have little red barns in them. It has the mountain in the simplest shape possible for the mountain. And it was an aha moment. Tell me, Al, is this good or that?
Yeah, good.
That's good. The Gorge Artists Open Studio Tour is an annual 3-day event where artists throughout the Gorge open up their studios to the public. And people come from 10 o'clock to 5 o'clock, 3 days, and they look at art and they buy art. Thank you so much. I find that a lot of people collect my art who the simplicity and clarity and maybe even the math part of it appeals to them.
It's beautiful. I've never seen anything like it.
People love her work. They come from all over the place to get it, whether it's here at the gallery or at her studio. So, not surprisingly, she was Gorge Artist of the Year a few years ago. People come to Hood River now for the art scene. I think there is something special about this area. The light is amazing. It's an artwork of itself.
Good seeing you again.
Great.
Wonderful work.
Thank you, thank you.
I'm an old guy. I'll probably go before she does. And I was looking at her the other day. She'll be just fine because she has all these friends. And I just thought, I got to experience all this time with her and doing all this crazy stuff we've done to know that she'll be okay. It's a really wonderful feeling.
I don't know what's next, but that curiosity and willingness to be open to learning and changing and growing constantly is my fountain of youth. I hope that whoever gets one of my paintings enjoys looking at it for years and years and years, and perhaps even generations.
Oregon Art Beat shares the stories of Oregon's amazing artists, and member support completes the picture. Join us as a sustaining member at opb.org/video.